Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, we have a show. It's guaranteed someone will dislike something we talk about on Monday. Maybe multiple things. Who knows? Will it be that the Super Bowl is set and it's not the Buffalo Bills or the Washington Commanders? How many NFL Swiftie conspiracists will be here to complain? How about those who have found out, unlike Saints games these days, you won't be able to walk up to the stadium and get tickets for $10. More like 500 times that for the cheapest one. And of course, we're going to talk about the Saints coaching search. You know, all those social media experts are whining because the Saints are last to make their decision public. Have you ever thought that maybe it's because they've known what they were going to do for nearly a week and they're just dotting I's and crossing T's? Nah, that makes too much sense. It's much easier to just blame Mickey Loomis. Well, it's your turn to talk because it's Mano E Monday, and it starts right after the intro.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Get enough of Swiftie yet? Not yet. Not yet. Too bad. It's going to be different this time. No, it's not. It's not different this time. Swiftie's coming. Who knows? Look, they only showed Swiftie like 3 times yesterday. So all of you in the Swiftie, the whole thing, they're cheating for the Chiefs because they want Swiftie because they make so much money. They don't make more money if Swiftie comes to New Orleans. Give me a break. Who cares? And if that were true, why wouldn't CBS showed her like 18 times yesterday? I don't think I even saw her until the second half. Kelsey didn't do hardly anything yesterday, by the way. Well, how about that? That's how we get into the show today. I'm feisty and fired up because I hate conspiracy theories. Well, there's no conspiracy theory here. This is Dattitude, episode number 337. I almost said 331. 337, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Monday, January the 27th, 2024. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am your host, Jim Derry, 34 plus years in New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you for being a part of the growing Dattitude family. I don't know, maybe it'll be shrinking after today because most of y'all probably won't agree with me. We got so many things to talk about today. It's going to be like, I know we usually spend like 80% on Saints, especially on a day like this, but the fact that the Super Bowl is in New Orleans and there's so much to talk about, it's probably going to be like 50-50 today. Gabe's going to come on the show later on. It is Mano E Monday, so I am going to get into your long list of comments that you already have. I haven't read them yet. We're going to go through this together. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's what Gabe tells me. The comments are really fun this morning. I can't wait. So we will do that. If you want to be part of the show, it's easy. All you got to do is type in your comment, whether you watch it on YouTube or Facebook. I'll probably show it at some point. It might get overbearing. So we'll see how many I show, but we'll show most of them here. It is Mano E Monday after all. That means it's your show today. You're the guest. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page. We do this every Monday, by the way, Mano E Monday. For those of you that are new to the show, I know it's supposed to be Mano a Mano. Okay. But when we were thinking of names for what Monday could be way back, I don't know, 6 months ago, somebody came up with Mano E Monday. I just like the way it sounds. I don't care if it's right. That's what we're calling today. So if you're new to the show, that's what we do every Monday at 11 o'clock live Central Time. You can get in touch with me on X after the show at Jim Derry Jr. or via email at jderry@theadvocate.com. Okay. Before I get to the comments, I have one quick question out there. For all the conspiracy theorists who think that, I knew it was going to happen already. I knew they were going to cheat for the Chiefs. Here's my question. If y'all were so sure they were going to cheat for the Chiefs, The same people, by the way, who were sure that Buffalo was going to lose to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson was going to the Super Bowl. What? Why aren't y'all rich? If y'all are so sure that they're going to cheat, why don't you just put your mortgage payments on a Chiefs money line? You know how much more money y'all would have by now? If y'all were so damn sure. That's why 80% of the people were betting Buffalo this weekend. That's what it was. It was 80%. I got the game. It went from 1.5 to -2 Chiefs, but then it dropped. Right? Even the people with money were betting on the Bills at the end. I got the money line at -110. Just saying. If y'all are so sure it's a conspiracy theory, why don't you go get rich? You already know what's going to happen. All right, here we go. It'll be a combination, I'm assuming, of Saints coaching search and Chiefs. So let's get started. Rocky, good morning. Got to be McCarthy with the Saints brass flying to Philadelphia today to visit with Kellen Moore. I think there's real interest there. Could be. I would say this. Here's my odds. Again, we're going to probably lead with the Saints after we get to some of these comments. If I had to put percentages on it, I would say 75% chance it's McCarthy, 20% chance it's Kellen Moore, and a 5% chance they really screw this up and I come on here either Wednesday or Friday losing my mind. So that's where I'm at right now. I really think it's McCarthy still. I think common sense says it's Mike McCarthy, as I say here on the slide. Second question from Rocky. Do I really believe Aaron Glenn requested Loomis step back? No, absolutely not. Aaron Glenn didn't request that Loomis step back. That we're going to get into all that BS later. Charles Mangus. Good morning. Another boring Super Bowl. It's not going to be boring, dude. NFL gets to show more yuck. Taylor Swift. They didn't show up at 3 times yesterday. In fact, I don't think I saw it all until the second half. You're not watching Super Bowl. You're watching reruns of Leave It to Beaver. Enjoy yourself. Even if I weren't going to the game, I would 100% be watching the game. There's only one Super Bowl that I refuse to watch, and I'm sure it's the same one that most of y'all refuse to watch. And it had nothing to do with games being rigged, although it did have to do with a missed call. And I'm glad I missed the big game. What was the final score? 10-3? Whatever it was. I don't know what it was. I think it was 10-3. That's what it was, Gabe. I bet a bunch of money on the under and didn't watch it and won and said, piss off. Anyway, Apathy says there must be serious interest in Kellen Moore if you fly into Philly to have an interview. When was the last time the Saints actually flew to a candidate to conduct a head coaching interview? I don't know. Look, I started this whole thing out. And again, I'm going to stick with my percentages. 75 McCarthy, 20 Kellen Moore, 5 they screw it up. Okay, because anything else with those two, in my opinion, they're screwing it up. Okay, can't be Rizzy. I don't care what the players want. It absolutely cannot be Rizzy. Oh, 13-3, Gabe says, by the way. No, can't be Rizzy. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, so maybe I said from what I was lost my main track of thought was going back. I said in the beginning, Kellen Moore was actually, he fits all the boxes to me. He's young, never coached for the Saints before, never played for the Saints before. He checks all the boxes. I'm not going to be upset if it's Kellen Moore. I can tell you that right now. I'm really not. William says, according to the latest odds, it appears Kellen Moore is pulled slightly ahead of McCarthy. I have not seen that anywhere. And I will tell you this, the place where I've been getting my odds, they're offline. They've been offline for 2 days now. When they go offline, it means they know something. It means somebody knows something. Okay. That's why I still think it is going to be Mike McCarthy. Common sense says it's Mike McCarthy. Would they fly out there? Who knows? I don't know. What else we got here? Some of these I'm not just, we're not going to do multiples yet. S. Cali, good morning. And Who Dat Nation? Absolutely. Gary, good morning, everybody. One Smoke, good morning. Another one, very disappointed. Kansas City won. Look, I don't think there's any, and he says his new favorite show. Thank you. I don't think there's any problem. Look, if you're disappointed, sure, I can get it. I completely understand why you don't want Kansas City in the game. That I don't have a problem with. If you don't want the Chiefs in the game, you're tired of seeing the Chiefs, completely get it. I have no qualms with that. But when you see things that aren't real, that's when I have a problem with, okay? Some of the calls that people are calling controversial, had they happened the exact same way, no one would even be talking about them this morning. We'll get to all that. Mad Rummer, another one. So Kellen Moore to New Orleans. Y'all read social media too much. One Smoke says he doesn't want Kellen Moore as head coach. Okay. Where are we going this morning? I'm gonna have to get on with the show. In fact, all right, let's move on a little bit. Again, we're gonna take lots more comments. Of course, this morning is gonna be Saints. We're gonna start off with the Saints here in just a minute, and then we're gonna spend at least 20 minutes talking about yesterday and the upcoming matchup. We will talk a little bit about the Eagles-Commanders game, although there's not really that much to talk about. I mean, what else can you say? Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts, both with the hat trick. I mean, I was kind of joking around with Gabe and UBN in the text thread. I mean, what could you have got for a parlay for both of those guys to score 3+ touchdowns? I mean, just 2+ touchdowns each. Probably would have been crazy. Before we get to the rest of the show, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. If that's you or someone you know, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemeld. And one thing about Nick and Ron, they'll tell you that your game, the game that they're going to run for you, it's fixed. It's fixed for you. They fix it for you. There's no conspiracy. You know you're going to get all the benefits of every call with Nick and Ron. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, you'll have to wait till we're just about ready to bring Gabe on the show. We'll fill you in more later. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right, let's talk some about Saints this morning here. Except for, I got to show this. Bart says, Super Bowl is done. They want the Chiefs to win. If you're so sure about a conspiracy, I'm going to say this, and I'll probably say it again. If you're so sure it's a conspiracy, Bart Prudhomme and everyone else, then go put $5,000 on the Chiefs to win with the money line. You'll have, whatever it is, the money line's going to be plus minus 125. You'll have, I don't know, I'm not a math whiz, $4,500 extra in your bank account the next day. If you're that sure it's a conspiracy, go do it. They don't deserve to be there. They won. That means they deserve to be there. All right. I don't care what social media is saying this morning as we move on. Common sense tells me it's Mike McCarthy. Why, Jim Derry? Why does common sense tell you it's Mike McCarthy? Because what they did last week, and people don't realize, here's another thing. People getting all upset because it's taken so long. It's taken the Saints so long. In the grand scheme of things, it's really not taking the Saints that long. Okay? Just because they're the last ones, sure. Would you rather them be first? I don't know. Maybe. As long as they get the guy who is the best fit for this team, I don't care if it takes 5 days or 5 weeks. What difference does it make? Gabe says 8,800. That's what you'd take home if you bet 5,000. That means you'd win 3,800. Okay, so I was a little off. 3,800 if you put $5,000 on the Chiefs and you win, you get right now you would win 3,800. But my point is back to McCarthy. They're doing their due diligence. You can hate Mickey Loomis for all sorts of things, but the amount of blame I'm not taking up for Mickey Loomis and what's happened in the last 3 years and the terrible drafts that the Saints had, at least not this past year as much, but the 2 years before that, bad drafts, okay? You can give Mickey Loomis grief for that. You can't give him grief for this coaching search right now. It's right where he wants it to be. All the people complaining about Aaron Glenn going to the Jets and saying all this crap, this BS. It's BS, okay? capital S. That Aaron Glenn says, requested the Saints to get rid of Loomis. Get out of here. That doesn't happen, okay? Not from some. Now, maybe if it was like a Bill Parcells in the day, a Bill Belichick before, he decided to get out of NFL coaching and nobody wants him because he's 72 years old. Maybe somebody like that could say, I'll come if you get rid of Loomis and I'm the GM. Maybe. There's no way in hell that Aaron Glenn did that, okay? It can't be common. We don't use common sense when we talk about these things. Think about it. Aaron Glenn to the Jets. Where did he play most of his career? That would be the Jets. I mean, he probably bleeds green and white. Okay? It's common sense. And Joe Brady, he took his name out of consideration. Well, yeah, he did. He took it out of consideration because word travels through agents. If you don't think the Saints don't know who they're hiring today, you're crazy. The Saints absolutely know who they're hiring today. And most likely the person who's getting hired knows he's getting hired, which means his agent knows he's getting hired, which word travels down the line. If Joe Brady didn't want to be the coach because of Mickey Loomis or whatever else some of y'all are saying, then he would have pulled his name out 2 weeks ago. Not today or yesterday or whenever he did it. It's insane. Again, you can moan and groan about Mickey Loomis, about other things, and I get it. But some of the things that I read from and where I'm most disappointed, it's not from just average Joe Blow or wannabe podcaster or whatever. It's people I actually respect. Some of the people I respect are saying this. I'm not going to mention names, but two prominent figures who cover the Saints in the media, not working for us, but two prominent people in the media are basically just been going off the last 4 or 5 days and either inferring or flat out saying Loomis is a clown and this whole charade of a search is BS. You don't know what you're talking. You've been covering this team that long, and you can't read through lines and see common sense and why it's taken as long. We had a snowstorm. You couldn't even get in here. You couldn't even get here. Tuesday and Wednesday, the city was shut down. Thursday, you really could. It's hard to get here anyway. That's why everything got moved back. Anthony Weaver would have been interviewed on Tuesday. Kafka would have been interviewed on Wednesday. It would have been over and done with. You would have had your Rooney Rule requirements done. You might have had a coach for the Saints by Friday. Had we not had a historical snowstorm here. But no, people don't think about that. You can't hire the coach you want unless you go through all the requirements set forth by the NFL. That's a whole different story on whether those things are right or not, but those are the rules. Saint for Life says, Kellen Moore is a good young coordinator. I like what he's done in the NFL. He's worked with several good quarterbacks, and his offenses have been good. His offenses have been damn good in Philadelphia. I thought they were good in Dallas. I thought they were good in with the Chargers. I mean, not great. He's young. He's got things to learn. I thought he did a really good job this year, though. And look, don't let one game fool you, okay? Don't get so excited about what you saw yesterday from Kellen Moore. But look, I'm still telling you that common sense says it's McCarthy. Why would they fly to Philadelphia? I don't know the answer to that. William says Mike McCarthy would be a good hire. Moore would be good as well. I think either one of those guys. Again, it goes back to what I was saying 3 weeks ago. The only person that checked, and this is before I even knew Mike McCarthy was going to be available, but he didn't check the boxes anyway. Kellen Moore fits all the requirements of the guidelines. No one who's ever coached here before, no one who's ever played here before, someone who's young, energetic. I think Kellen Moore fills those things. Again, we're going to get back to Super Bowl stuff. I don't really want to harp on that right now. There are other things I want to talk about when it comes to Saints. So let's talk Saints right now. I know a lot of y'all are still commenting about look, we're going to get back. I promise. We're going to spend 30 minutes on Super Bowl. Gabe's going to come on. We're going to have a lot of time to talk about the Super Bowl in the show this morning. But, I want to go back to the Loomis part of this. Y'all just realize and think about what has to go on behind the scenes to get a coach these days. You don't just go out and say, I want this guy, okay? You can't do it. Did the Saints do enough due diligence when they hired DA? No, they didn't. But that being said, and I've said this multiple times before, if you go back to that in hindsight's 2020, you go back and look. I mean, Dennis Allen, I think most people, not everyone, most people thought that Dennis Allen was the right person for the job. I'd say 75%. There was not a lot of complaining when Dennis Allen got the job. Why? Because I think most people at that point in time wanted continuity from Sean Payton. Just saying. I don't know. I get it. UBN wants to know if Kellen Moore is bringing Saquon. Wouldn't that be nice? That dude's ridiculous. Smoke says we can use that completely changed scheme on defense. No doubt about it. But you just talk about, I've even been saying there are so many people. I've scoured social media, especially on Saturday evening, and a lot yesterday before the game started. I mean, look, I get it. The players want Rizzy. You understand what kind of disaster there would be here if the Saints hired? Now, look, I've already been on record. I think there's 0.0% chance that they're hire Rizzy. I had to up it Friday. I think I said 0.9%. So this is all part of the 5% that they make the wrong mistake. They make the mistake, I should say. Not wrong mistake. That's kind of a double negative. But look, they hire Rizzy, then players will be happy. You know how long they'll be happy? For about 4 or 5 weeks in the regular season when they're 1-4 and the team stinks and we got to go through this whole thing again. And then you got the numbnuts who are saying they should tank. That's a whole different story. JJ says he stands by his opinion. The Saints need someone with a strong discipline acumen to get this ship on the right track, and he doesn't think that's Kellen Moore. How do you know? How do you know? Because he's only been a coordinator? I don't know. I don't think you can know that yet. I just, Giovanni Martinez wants to know, is it typical for a team to fly out to see a candidate? Yes, if you're really interested. It's not typical if so that kind of contradicts what I'm saying common sense means to McCarthy. So yes, if you're really interested in someone. No, if you're not. So I guess that means they have to be really interested in them. To answer your question, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you because I think common sense dictates that it's Mike McCarthy. So, yeah, I don't know. What else we got here? Brian S. Steve says, Moore got let go in Dallas because he scored too quickly. Well, he got let go in Dallas because Mike McCarthy wanted to call the plays. And so I think there was kind of a clash there. And McCarthy had I'm going to take up for Kellen Moore here because I think Kellen Moore was ready to take that next step. Okay. And he clashed with McCarthy because it's, McCarthy is like Peyton. It's like I told you. I mean, I'm surprised McCarthy had someone calling plays anyway. It kind of was a little weird in the first place. One Smoke says maybe Kellen Moore learned from Sirianni because that guy knows how to motivate a team. I call Sirianni names on this show because I think he's a horrible in-game coach. I did not use the word awful. I said horrible. But that being said, he and Dan Campbell are what and what, and I think his players love him, and he definitely knows how to motivate guys. So, yes, back to what JJ was saying, I don't disagree that the Saints definitely need someone that's going to motivate this locker room. But don't you think that fresh blood in general is going to motivate this locker room? I don't see Kellen Moore. The biggest problem I had with DA, well, I had a lot of problems with DA. But the number one problem I had with DA is that he was just kind of like this blasé kind of guy. He was just boring. He was not an inspirational guy at all, to JJ's point. And he never was that. He wasn't that before. So that's why in hindsight, again, 2020, I could see, if you really did a in-depth search and maybe a better GM or a different GM would have. Peyton left them in the lurch. No one had any clue this was happening. A lot of things went wrong there. David, I'm going to try to pronounce your last name. Camistos. The keys to winning at the NFL level, you need players, and they will make any coach be great. Yes and no. Build an offensive and defensive lines, then quarterback. Amen to that. 100% agree with you on that last point. You got to build the offensive and defensive lines before you figure out. That's why next year, look, if they have a good draft, okay, if they either trade down in first 2 rounds, get yourself a starting offensive lineman, get yourself a starting defensive lineman. That's a big step. You get the right coach in here, and you can stay away from some of these devastating injuries that you had and look, the players are who they are. I know they're aging, but I don't think there's any reason to think this team at least can't compete next year. Can they compete for a Super Bowl? No. I mean, let's be realistic. No, not going to compete for a Super Bowl, but I think that they can be decent next year, as early as next year. I know that seems illogical for a lot of you, and a lot of you saying, is Derry really saying that? I really believe it. That's why I've kind of been advocating for McCarthy. Again, more checks the boxes of being young and all the things that we wanted before, and a guy that could be here for a really long time. Could he be the next Sean Payton? I don't know, maybe. But McCarthy could come in, and I think that this team competes right away. Again, assuming that you do the right things in the draft, and that's a lot of assumption. Lots of things going on. I think we're going to have an answer this week, though. I think we're to the point now where I would be surprised if we don't have an answer, if we don't have a coach hired, maybe even by like Wednesday. I think it's possible. If not, I definitely think it'll be Thursday or Friday. Whenever it happens, by the way, we will have a show. We will go on the air not long after. So we'll figure that out. Rocky wants to know, does Mike McCarthy retire? No. He's only 63. Not going to retire. He'll get a job. He won't get a job in the cycle. He'll just sit out this year, and then he'll be in the running next year for, look, we all know. What's the minimum of coaches that there are at least 5 coaching searches a year, Gabe? 6? The average has got to be 5 or 6. Mike McCarthy will get a job in the next cycle if he doesn't get the Saints job in this one. All right, we're gonna finish the show with Saints. But I want to get back to the Super Bowl. We got a lot more to talk about with Super Bowl. I'm gonna have a fun. This is gonna be a fun conversation with Gabe. I know that they're back and forth, I think we probably mostly agree about what happened. First off, before we get to that, we told you earlier, we'll let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. Well, how do they do it? After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from established private equity funds from around the world. And they will maximize the return process for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area. They are the Kansas City Chiefs of their platform. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Let's call them something else. They're the old school Dallas Cowboys whatever you want to call them. They're the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area, and none with their dedication and success. They are fully licensed and ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. That's the rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right. Lines are out. Kansas City Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite over them Philadelphia Eagles. You know, just enough juice to all the conspiracy theorists when they go bet all their money on Kansas City. They got to juice it up a little bit. February 9th in the Louisiana Superdome, now known as the Caesars Superdome. A couple things before we get to Gabe. I got to give credit to Josh Allen, first of all, because I've been critical of Josh Allen in the past. I thought he was outstanding yesterday. I thought Sean McDermott and Joe Brady left a little be desired. One thing that I definitely want to bring up before we get to the controversy again, you know, nobody's talking about, because of the controversy, people aren't talking about McDermott's 2-point decisions. You know, all this fourth down, I love going for it on fourth down, I love going for 2 and blah, 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 all this stuff goes to show you. He took a point off the board, okay? And I get the analytics, all them analytics. They moved the ball up a yard, so now we got to go for 2. We'll take the point off the board. Numbskull. You don't take points off the board. They did there. What happened? They didn't get the 2-point conversion, and so they found themselves later. They got when they scored a touchdown, they were chasing a 2-point conversion later. So that's 2 points that they don't have. And now Kansas City gets a chance when they scored a touchdown. After all that, they do go for 2, get it. So that's a 3-point swing right there. If you just kick the damn extra point, maybe it's tied at the end instead of, you know, Kansas City kicking the field goal. Maybe that's a game-tying field goal and not the game-winning field goal. I thought Sean McDermott did not do that great of a job yesterday. And I give Spags grief. I'm not a fan of Steve Spagnuolo at all. I mean, you can't argue with what he's been able to do as a coordinator. The mess that he made here in New Orleans just left a bitter taste on my tongue. But you got to give him credit. I thought that Buffalo had no idea when the blitz was coming, at least later in the game. McDermott and Brady were not ready for the blitz, especially on that fourth down play where Allen almost made an incredible play, just heaving it up. Now, I don't know if he was lucky and got it to Kincaid or if he knew where he was going to be in the area or whatever. But I thought Josh Allen was outstanding yesterday. I thought the coaching from the Bills left something to be desired. They're the ones that choked, not Josh Allen, in my opinion. I thought overall the Bills defense played about as well as they can play. The thing is, look, forget you again. We'll talk about conspiracy theories and controversy, but when Mahomes is Mahomes, and he just focuses more for these kinds of games. When he's Mahomes, I don't know if you can beat him. Maybe you can, maybe you can. I don't know, but someday somebody will. But I thought he was at his best yesterday. And again, I thought the Bills defense played almost as well as they could play. They just got beat. And as we get into Gabe here, you know, my thoughts on the controversy is not because it's a conspiracy. There's controversy because 90% of the world hates the Chiefs. And any play haters can say, see, they're cheating. Any play. You could pick out any play that you think is controversial. And mainly the one, the almost interception that people think hit the ground, mainly because it wasn't an interception. Had that been just a little bit different, had the guy intercepting the ball been the one on the bottom with his hand under the ball touched the ground. I didn't see it move. I certainly didn't see it move enough to change the call, to overturn the call. But had that been the guy who was intercepting the ball regardless and done the exact same way, no one would be complaining. except Chiefs fans, probably. Then Chiefs fans would be complaining. I didn't see the ball move. Had that been Amari Cooper, had it been Josh Allen throwing the same pass and Amari Cooper being the one with his hand under the ball. And here's another thing on that thing, and this is one thing that is about to bring Gabe in about 30 seconds. Last thing. Here's one thing people don't realize and don't want to hear maybe. But I hate to tell you this. Even if that goes as an incomplete pass, the Chiefs are going to have the ball on the 20. They're probably going to score a touchdown anyway. So all this controversy over something that shouldn't be controversy for, in my opinion. You know what it is? It's the ESPNs of the world and everyone else stirring things up. They're the ones that want this to be a controversy because you're going to go watch them this morning. You're going to be talking about it this morning. Randall says he agrees with me. Washington did the same thing. You only go for 2 when you have to. Yes, it changed the game, I thought. Not that it would have mattered in the end for Washington. It says going for, I think that going for 2 in the first half is always dumb no matter what the reason. Now, maybe if you got the tush push and you're at the 1, I could see it. But the Bills tush push isn't like the Philly tush push. Just saying that. Barry wants to know how long a honeymoon does the Saints coach get? 2 years? Yeah, I don't know. With these fans, I don't even think it's 2 years. One Smoke didn't like Brady's calls in short yardage situation. Me neither. We can look at some of these other ones in a minute. All right. Whoops. And then Rough Gate compared to Bounty Gate. Dude, come on, man. All right, it's time to move on in the show because I'm sure that Gabe and I have lots to talk about here. Look, before we get to it, by the way, I'm going to brag for 1 second. Just going to show that. In case you can't see the screen, standings. Just saying. Somebody went 5 for 5 this week. I don't know who that was. Are you frozen, Gabe, or you're just like, oh, okay. Just making sure. Okay.
I just have one thing to say, Jim.
You say whatever you want, my friend. Go for it.
Dread it. Run from it. The Kansas City Chiefs arrive all the same.
What?
The Kansas City Chiefs are inevitable.
Yeah, they kind of are. They're like, we could say, can we add death taxes and the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl?
Yes.
I mean, kind of like that.
By the way, I can't really flip my computer around to show it, but I'm currently looking at my fridge, and I have a whiteboard on my fridge, and I wrote a little note to myself. My best friend's an Eagles fan, and so I've told myself, my initial reaction after the game is, ooh, maybe I'll put some money on the Eagles in this game, and then I caught myself in it. So I in big letters written on my fridge out there, I have, don't bet against God.
I did it many times before. I think I started changing about 2 years ago. And I said, why fight it anymore? Mm-hmm. And the point is, look, I get why people don't like them. I'm not going to sit here and say, look, I wanted Buffalo to win. I mean, except for my bet. I mean, of course I wanted to go 5 for 5. Of course I wanted to make money. Do I think that? I think it would have been I think the Super Bowl would have drawn way more excitement. My wife is in the, again, restaurant food sales industry. The last thing she wanted was Kansas City and Philadelphia. But I wanted Buffalo to win. But Kansas City, in my opinion, deserved to win yesterday. They were the better team.
Yep. And
we can sit here and debate calls all day long. They were the better team. The Bills got outcoached. They got outplayed. And even though I thought Josh Allen was excellent, but that wasn't enough. I think overall Mahomes was a little bit better.
You want to know what's remarkable about this Chiefs team?
Lots of things, but go for it.
There was not a single point yesterday where I thought the Bills were going to win that game. Not a single point did I say. Not a single time did I say to myself, oh man, the Chiefs are in trouble here. Not once.
I kind of thought, I got to say, I'll be straight up honest. I kind of thought that the Bills were going to go down there and at least at the minimum kick a field goal or miss a field goal. I could see them missing a field goal. But what would we be talking about today if, let's say, they overturned that pass? Okay. And I know there's one that you and I talked about. We'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that in a second. But had they overturned that pass, okay, and the Chiefs scored anyway, because they probably would have scored anyway.
They would have scored anyway.
What would we be talking about today? Well, not we, but I mean, what would the conspiracy theorists?
Nothing. The conspiracy theorists would be quiet.
They'd have to come up with something.
Well, they would say, "Oh, look, when the Chiefs don't get calls, they don't win."
But no, they'll say if the Chiefs exactly played out the exact same way. Chiefs win the same way. They win by the same score. Everything happens the same way, except the only difference is that one play, they score anyway. What do people say then?
Hold on.
I agree with you, BN, by the way. That's what they would have been talking about. And you and I could talk about it.
Just looking at some of the comments. Yes, Randall, I agree with you. I think Andy Reid retires if they win this Super Bowl. No, the Bills were not the best team in football this year.
Maybe Mike McCarthy, if he doesn't get the job, maybe he goes to the Chiefs.
Not true. No, I think if
you think it's Nagy.
No, I think it's Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Kingsbury if he retires. So here's the thing. Here's where I stand on the catch. Was it a catch? No. Did they get the call right? Yes. Both things can be true. Because when you look at it, the ground aided in the catch. The ball didn't move, but it aided with the catch. There was no clear possession, and Xavier Worthy didn't have his arm under the ball. So I think the ground definitely aided with the catch, but on the field, it was called a catch. And I don't think, despite, all of this is opinion. We have
of course, all this is so.
We don't have it from
every
every
comment.
angle. We don't have the.
Yeah, so is every social media retort and every comment in our comment queue.
So at the end of the day, there was not enough evidence to overturn whatever they called. That's just how I feel about it. I don't think there's any controversy really there.
Yeah, no, and look, whether you agree with me or agree with Gabe, agree with UBN, agree with most 90% of the people who hate the Chiefs, doesn't matter. The one thing I can tell you that I agree with Gabe on is I think his hand was under it. I don't think the ball moved. I think it was a catch. However, I will say this, had it been called the other way, had it been called not a catch, I wouldn't be sitting here arguing this morning that they should have overturned it. I don't think it was an overturnable call, whatever way you call it. That's one of those. And by the way, that's a stupid rule. I hate you can't overturn it unless you're sure. I think, and I'm not necessarily using this play as an example, but I think if you see a play and it's more likely that something was a catch or wasn't a catch or was a fumble or not a fumble, why do you have to have overwhelming evidence because they called something a certain way on the field?
Well, because they're protecting the referees.
That. Exactly.
They're not going to go against.
Let's stop doing that.
That goes along with the fact that one of my pet peeves is if you have replay and you can get a video on it, it should be reviewable.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too.
I hate when I'm watching a football game and they say, "Well, that's not a reviewable play."
Oh, I agree. Oh, everything should
drives
be
me up a wall.
100% agree. Everything should be agreeable. I do have one that's off topic. Lance Dobard wants to know if I would offer up an entire draft for Burrow. The answer is I wouldn't offer up an entire draft for Patrick Mahomes 8 years ago. We've seen what that does. You don't win. Okay, when you offer up for an entire draft, you can't give up an entire draft for anyone. In my opinion.
All respect to Lance. Why the hell are we even talking about this?
Well, I know.
No. Because here's the thing.
Fans like to dream. Come on, they like.
But here's
to dream.
No. You can dream all you want. Dream all you want. It's not only is trading an entire draft for one player not feasible in today's NFL. I just don't think you would see it.
No.
The Saints
I don't know.
no money.
Yeah, no. Though you might see that though. Here's another thing about no money, by the way. And Lord knows I'm not advocating for kicking the can.
Here's the thing: they don't have Joe Burrow money. There is nothing the Saints could do to afford Joe Burrow.
You know how many times there's nothing. I said the Saints, there's nothing they can do, and then they find ways to do it.
Joe Burrow's on what, like $60 million a year?
We always say stuff is different, and then it's not different.
But it is different with one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league.
Well, I mean, Lance says 2026, 60 million free, 2027, 100 million free. You work, you can make a contract. So you can make a contract to where you're making 1 million this year. You're making 60 million in 2026 and you're making 100 million in 2027. Do I say they should do that? No, but it's okay to dream.
It's okay to dream. You would financially cripple your entire organization more.
Well, I mean, they've already kind of financially crippled their organization. So
it would be Drew Brees it would be Drew Brees with a bunch of peewee players around Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Not even worth a discussion. Yeah, Randall's right. You wouldn't have any.
And I've seen a couple of these comments, by the way. Corey and UBN said this, and someone else asked, why was there a flag on the Kincaid drop and then picked up? I think you need more of an explanation. I don't necessarily have a problem with more of the explanation, but flags get dropped and picked up all the time. Why do we have to make another conspiracy theory?
And not only
that there's not something to be a conspiracy
theory.
Not
only that, Kansas City's accent color is yellow. It could have been a towel. It could have been a shoe. I mean, it could have been. I don't understand why, because people in the booth said that they saw a flag, theoretically.
Right. And
it's not.
Actually, there was actually a story from Awful Announcing that they had posted that they were blasting CBS for saying there was a flag when there wasn't a flag. So actually, who's to say there really was a flag? Somebody showed me a picture. Somebody showed me a picture of a screen where they see a flag on the screen during that play. Because the only thing that we saw as a flag was CBS saying there was a flag. So there you go.
And I just wanted to touch on one other thing that you said.
You're about
earlier.
to go where we're going in that
direction.
direction.
I'm actually not. This is just completely off cuff. I want to shout out Steve Spagnuolo.
Yeah, you have to.
That blitz on 4th down was incredible.
Took balls, actually.
I mean, it's what he's known for now is his aggressiveness, especially on late downs. But to put Josh Allen, who played a fantastic game, to put his mind in such a pretzel that all he can do is heave it up and hope.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah,
because as some of the comments have pointed out, he had Khalil Shakir on the far side wide open.
Exactly. And
but he couldn't look over there. He had no time to even consider.
Spags got burned by the blitz multiple times. Spags got burned by the blitz yesterday. And to me, if you get burned by a blitz there, because that easily could have been, if you find someone open running down the sideline because you got too many people on the line blitzing, and Allen finds him and throws it to him quickly, and he goes down and scores, Spags is going to get blasted. And he just didn't. So yes, I think that was and look, it wasn't just the right call. I saw a kind of a breakdown of the play after. He loaded the left side of the line. Mm-hmm. Okay. And Allen then checked down and he was checking off to try to do something to his other side of the line, but they kind of fooled him that the way that they came in and disguised the blitz very well. So it was the one way you save, I guess. It was the blitz you save.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was a great call.
And he's always got one of those up his sleeve, and that's really helped Kansas City here.
You're right.
And not only that, so another thing is just Joe Brady. Yesterday was not his finest game. I think not utilizing James Cook more late game. They have used James Cook effectively, and he's been a staple of that offense all season. But then in their biggest drive of the year, he wasn't anywhere to be found. That didn't sit right with me.
A couple of comments, one back to Lance, and then one that leads into our next topic of conversation. Lance says, if I were Cincy, would I do it? Absolutely not. I'm not trading my franchise player. Just as I wouldn't trade an entire draft for one player, I wouldn't trade my franchise player for anything. If I were the Chiefs, there's nothing you could give me that would make me give Patrick Mahomes to you. Nothing. And
I wouldn't even just limit it to them. I mean, if I'm sitting here as a Texans fan, I wouldn't give you CJ Stroud for an entire draft.
Of course you wouldn't. Nor should you.
Because quarterbacks, a great quarterback is a luxury in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to find them.
Especially not easy to find one that's a top 10 or potentially top 5 guy. CJ Stroud's not in the top 5, but I think he's fringe top 10, and he's certainly a guy who eventually could be top 5. You wouldn't do that, and know what I say you should. All right, Adam Varner leads us into our next topic. You know damn well there were bad calls in that game. That's all you're going to say. I don't necessarily. I think there were a couple of questionable calls, and one of them is the one that you think is a bad call, and I certainly don't have a problem with what the only one that I think is even kind of questionable is the same one that you think should have been overturned. I'm gonna let you talk about it, and then we can.
Yeah, it was the fourth down that they said Josh Allen did. I thought Josh Allen was across, and all these people are all these people are talking about the tush push in the comments, and it's the right call. You've got a quarterback in Josh Allen who is 6'6". I mean, people are so quick to look at when something doesn't work. They're so quick to look at an offense and say, "Oh, how could you call that?" How about we just tip our cap to the defense?
Yeah, sometimes you have to.
The Chiefs defense, if you look at that 2-point conversion, they knew, and they pointed it out on CBS, they knew that Josh Allen loved to run off his left guard on tush pushes.
Yeah.
And they defended that really well.
Yeah.
And they specifically targeted that area.
Look,
and so, it's one of those things you just have to tip your caps to the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, I think the only real bad call in that game, the only one that I walked away having a problem with, was that fourth down. I
don't even necessarily disagree with you. I have a problem with why did one guy can't come in a certain way, but he was kind of shielded. Everyone's kind of shielded. When you look at it from a certain angle, this is a perfect example to me of, had you gone in with a replay rule of, forget about what was called in the field. I don't care what was called in the field. Mm-hmm. What is most likely to have happened? To me, I think that's what the rule should be. Forget about the call in the field. It doesn't make a bit of difference, because I agree with you. I think most likely he got past the line of scrimmage. However, I don't think there was anything on a replay with the rules that the way they are currently that you could overturn it. But common sense says, and we should use common sense says that he did get past the line and it should have been a first down. Mm-hmm. But again, you can't, when you got 22 guys all piled up into one, it's like, kids, 5-year-olds playing soccer, they all just go to the ball, and you can't even see where the ball is half the time. It's the same thing. You couldn't see where the ball was. You can't overturn that call, but common sense tells you that he probably did get a first down and they should have. Yeah. And 100%, I agree with you, Gabe, that they do it in the USFL or the UFL, whatever the hell they're calling it. Put a damn chip in the ball, so you know whether he got it or not. You can know where the ball is 100% of the time. This is 2025. That should be easy. Let's say we're going to the chip or whatever.
There's something called Hawkeye technology in soccer, and they put a chip in the ball.
In tennis too,
and they have the goal line or the touch line with where it meets the goal. They can, to the centimeter, they can tell you whether a ball was over the line or not.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand how the NFL hasn't adopted.
I agree wholeheartedly. And it goes back to what you said earlier. I agree with you that sometimes we're protecting refs to a fault. Just like the Saints protect people to a fault. I think we protect refs. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I just think that officiating is just not as good as it was even 10 years ago. I just think right now it's just not that great. So I don't
have
think
the tools to succeed, and they're
right.
not being given them.
Yeah. And why not have, why not measure with chains? It wouldn't matter whether you measure with the chains, Adam. That particular play, it was literally right on the yard line. It was right on the 40, like the 40, the big white line going across. You didn't need to measure it. That's where the chain was. It was from the 30 to the 40, so you didn't need to measure.
The chain test and the eyeball test are the same. It's an inexact science. Let's just take all inexact questions out of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, look, at some point. And the thing that we've seen this in the past, and I hope this comes to pass here, that we've seen that big mistakes in playoffs or controversial things in playoffs have led to changes by the rules committee. And I would hope, I know that they've been talking about it for a while and they keep turning it down and they don't want to, for some reason, we tried the chip in the ball for one preseason and they said, oh, it doesn't work. It didn't work because you didn't want it to use it. You didn't want it to work. That's why it didn't work. Okay. The same reason why when you allowed for pass interference to be reviewed after the no call, it didn't work because you didn't want it to work. You just said, we're not overturning any calls. I think they had something ridiculous, like 170 review flags thrown for pass interference. And I think there was something like 3 that were overturned because they weren't going to overturn them.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. And this is, I mean, I know you're not a soccer guy, but this is a huge talking point in the top flight of England and their soccer, the league, the Premier League. They introduced something called VAR. It's a video assistant referee. And essentially what it does is it can go, whether it's a red card offense, whether it's a penalty decision, they go to the monitor. They have people upstairs in a separate room who are watching it from all angles. And then if they're unsure, they send the referee to the monitor and they watch it.
Yep.
And the issue is, and this is where I think the NFL would have issues as well with introducing technology like this, they are too hesitant to disagree with themselves or disagree with their colleagues because it would paint them in a bad light.
Yeah.
When at the end of the day, all of it is just about getting the decisions right. And that's my fear for the NFL is they do adopt this technology and they have these referees who are non-committal. And they just try and protect their friends and their colleagues. And so you really have to get on the same page. You not only have to introduce that technology, you have to have people who are willing to change as well.
Yeah.
Be on the same page.
There's too many get off my lawn guys in the NFL still, the owners. I mean, what is the average age of an NFL owner? Got to be like
old.
70, right? I'm being realistic. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be like 70, somewhere in that ballpark. Until I think you get owners that are, we talk about up and coming young coaches for the Saints. I think it's the same kind of thing. I at least have up and coming young, and I know it's harder to do with owners because you got to have billions of dollars to do it, but it's got to be something they can do to have like some kind of committee that doesn't necessarily just involve owners. I mean, they got to make changes. I mean, use this freaking technology.
Here's why that won't happen is because it's taking the power out of the owner's hands, and these guys are too
power hungry,
too full of themselves. Yeah,
I don't disagree.
So, I wanted to have one more discussion going into the Super Bowl. UBN was texting us this morning, and he was talking about how the Chiefs are so unlikable, and everyone always points to, well, it's because they're winning. But I disagree with the Chiefs in this case, and it's really. If you look at modern sports dynasties, there's two sides of the aisle. There are the ones clouded by controversy, and there's the ones that aren't. Alabama football it didn't have any controversy under Nick Saban. They just won, and people disliked him for it, which is perfectly fine. But there's a difference in the disdain for Alabama football and teams like the Houston Astros, the New England Patriots, the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's because the three latter teams that I just listed have all had controversy around them, be it cheating. I think they're all cheating to some degree. But then you look at teams like the Los Angeles Dodgers. People don't feel the way about the Los Angeles Dodgers, the New York Yankees. They did the Houston Astros. The Golden State Warriors. People absolutely despise. But they didn't feel that way about the Miami Heat or the Cleveland Cavaliers when they were winning. So it's just
because people love LeBron.
I think there's a difference with this Chiefs team. And I think while you can look at, no, they're not doing anything to cheat, I think they kind of straddle that line between, say, Alabama football and the New England Patriots.
I'm going to tell you why people don't like the Chiefs. And this is my opinion on it. Because they are a sort of an old school. They don't do anything fancy. They don't care what it looks like. Now, Mahomes is flashy, but really no one else is flashy. And they don't care if they go 5 yards. They don't care if they have a 12-minute drive. They don't care if they don't go for it on fourth down. They don't care if they don't go for two when people want them to go for two. They don't do all those things. So people would rather have a team like the Detroit Lions have a fun team with a fun coach and somebody that's never done it before. And eventually they'd probably get tired of them too. But the point is, it's the same reason why they hated Brady and Belichick. Belichick wasn't a flashy guy. He's not a flashy coach. He coaches like it's 1974. And that's how Brady played. And people just don't like that. And they don't want to see that. And so they're sick of the Chiefs. They would rather have the Bills who do go for it on fourth down and do go for it for two. And Josh Allen is that kind of quarterback and blah, blah, blah. And that's what they want. And they're just sick of old school. And that's what Kansas City represents, in my opinion.
I'll disagree with that. And here's why. People didn't hate the Golden State Warriors because They were grinded out, win however they could. I mean,
but they had Steph who could shoot from the half court line.
Steph Curry and the Warriors reinvented the way that basketball is being played. I mean,
right.
if you're talking about some of the most, no, that's what I'm saying. You're saying that people hate the Chiefs because they're the grinded out, win no matter what team.
Yeah, they hate them because they're boring. It was like Lance said.
No. I disagree with that, and let me finish my point, and then I'll get to that. But you look at a revolutionary team like the Lions, who I guess the Golden State Warriors would be the basketball equivalent of them. Yeah, I mean,
if you have to win to be revolutionary.
You do, but you use them as an example here, so I'm just going off your example. But if you look at, I mean, if you're talking some of the most influential players in NBA history, Steph Curry's got to be number one. He has literally, he has changed the way that basketball is played.
For sure. Absolutely, I agree.
But people hate the Warriors because they do things that they don't have to do.
Do people really hate the Warriors, though?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I like them.
Because Draymond Green, it's because
I was gonna say maybe they hate him because of Draymond, but I don't necessarily think they hate him. And here's
the thing with the Chiefs, and this is why so many, and UBN said it earlier, and he hit the nail on the head. People hate them because they do shit that they don't have to do.
Maybe
Patrick Mahomes is faking slides and diving into defenders.
He didn't do that yesterday.
Calls. No, he didn't do that yesterday, but he did it 2 weeks ago. But he's doing that.
He did it 2 weeks ago.
He doesn't need to do that.
I don't disagree. And he said, I don't need to do that.
They are
basically
good
apologized
enough
for doing that.
They're good enough to win. And yesterday, after Mahomes, I mean, did you see on Mahomes' rushing? He actually did do it yesterday. On his rushing touchdown, when he was running into the end zone, he cut back and turned right into Damar Hamlin, who was standing in the end zone, trying to make a tackle.
I didn't know.
And then when he got up, the Chiefs, mainly Travis Kelce, ran up to the Bills defenders and got in their face, and he was taunting them. By the letter of the law, Travis Kelce was taunting yesterday, and he started that whole
scuffle. By the letter of the law, I could find
but
12 taunting yesterday.
But here's the thing. They don't have to do that. They don't need these ticky-tacky calls. They don't need the referees on their side. Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback the NFL has ever seen. And yes, I will say that, and I'll read you a
LeBron's
stat.
the biggest flopper that has ever lived.
No, that's a terrible.
LeBron is the biggest flopper that ever, and I mean ever, lived in any sport. But people still love him to death.
No, he's not. And
the reason you're saying that,
or
haters. There's either lovers or haters.
The reason you're saying that is because you've never watched soccer. Neymar Jr. is the biggest flopper that ever lived.
No, maybe so. I'm not counting soccer.
But that's the reason that people get so frustrated with the Chiefs and they hate the Chiefs, because they're so good and they make themselves so unlikable with the stuff that they pull.
Jason's right. People love an underdog, and that ain't Mahomes.
Here's the thing. It was Mahomes. When Mahomes played Brady,
in the beginning, they
AFC
for the Chiefs.
Yes, they pulled it. And then the Chiefs started acting like this, and that's when they became hated.
Maybe.
But to justify, I saw this interesting stat earlier. To justify my Mahomes as the greatest player list, here's a list of players to win 4+ championships and 2 MVP awards before turning 30. The NHL, Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Guy Lafleur.
Okay.
The MLB,
even I know those guys.
Yogi Berra, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle. The NBA, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell. The NFL,
all done 40 or more years ago.
Yeah, all great. The NFL, none.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever done it. But if Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes will be the first.
Look, people, and I agree with the comment from before. It's people root for the underdog. It's the reason why
they do.
Detroit was becoming America's team, and because when you think of the average fan in the NFL is probably 40-ish. If you talk about age, I mean, there are tons and tons of young fans, and the older fans probably stop watching as much. Anyway, my guess is if you had to pick an average age of a fan in the NFL, it's probably 40-ish. They like the
between 25 and 34 make up 41.1% of
there
NFL
you go.
fans.
So that shows that it's no older than 40. So I mean, my point is that people love Detroit not just because they're the underdog, but because of the way they play, and they do it different, and they play as if these 25 to 35 year olds who are gaming every day, or if they're playing Madden, that's how they play on Madden. And when I say that, I mean it sincerely. I'm not trying to make they're playing Madden football as a joke. I mean, that's really how they're playing, how they're coaching the game. And people like watching that. And I understand that. And people don't like watching, oh, it's 4th and 1 on the 42, the plus 42, and you're going to punt. How disgusting. You're disgusting. But that's
and I think
how they play.
I think there's definitely a divide in how people view it. I mean, I've certainly been critical of some of Dan Campbell's calls. I don't have as much problem with analytics. I didn't have a problem, I should say, with Sean McDermott and the Bills going for it yesterday. I still don't have a problem with it because my attitude.
I laughed when they did it.
My attitude going into those plays is how I feel in the moment is how I feel regardless. I'm not going to allow the result of the play to change that. I thought in the moment that the Bills should have gone for it, so I can't sit here after the fact and say that they shouldn't.
Here's the thing, and I know Zach would probably disagree with this, and you may disagree with it too, and I want to move on, so I don't really want to spend a lot of time talking about this because it's off topic, but going for 2 early, all it does is hurt you. You can't really gain anything out of it because if you get the 2-point conversion, the other team always knows where you stand. If you don't get it, you end up regretting it anyway. You see, it doesn't help you enough early on later in the game. To me, you need to know where you stand in the fourth quarter. And if you kick those extra points, you're in a completely different situation. Now, I get it's not fun. I get, like, if you get the 2, you can say, see, I told you it's a 50-50 shot. It's just, to me, it's not worth the risk early on. Again, this is for a different show. You can put on this on your list of things.
Yeah, I don't feel strongly enough to refute that. I'll hit back with this. The reason that I don't have a problem with them going for it is because they are 3 feet away from the end zone with a 6'6" quarterback.
No, I hear you.
At the end of the day, that's I don't feel strongly enough to debate it either way. I mean, we both have our feelings on it.
But it's like Jason says, you're anticipating you're going to need that too. Well, you don't know.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and this is where I will kind of push back on that. When you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, you have to be aggressive. And that's why I saw a lot of people who had a problem with the Bills going for it on that 4th down.
I didn't actually. I didn't.
Not a single second did I think they should punt this. Because as the Chiefs proved at the end of the game, if you give the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, you're not seeing it again.
It's different now.
I have no problem.
I'm going to say this. There was only 1 4th down. I think there was a lot of 4th down. I think in all, if you want to add them up in total, there was something along the lines of 9 or 10 4th down attempts yesterday. And there was only 1 I had problem with. And it was the Chiefs doing it from their own side of the field. And they ended up getting it.
Is that the one where Patrick Mahomes scrambled?
He rolled out to the right, and it was kind of an option play. He can either toss it to whoever was out there, or he can run it.
Pacheco and Hunt.
But if you don't get that, you're giving Buffalo 7 points, in my opinion. So I had a problem with that one, and it worked out. But that's literally the only one I had a problem with. The other ones, I agree with you. In Washington, all the ones they did yesterday, and we never really talked about Philly, Washington all that much, but they kind of had to. I mean, you go into that game with, if you're Washington, we got to do some special things to win here in Philadelphia, like we did last week against the Rams. So I didn't even have a problem with the ones that the Commanders went for yesterday, and they didn't work out. But although they went for 2 early, and that bit them in the ass too. So
at this point, are we not going to say it takes something special for? I mean, the Bills almost had to. I feel like because
they're a different team. I think the Bills. No, I think the Bills
can't be too conservative. I don't think when you're playing in Kansas City,
it's a little different.
You've got to go for the jugular.
I don't have any problem with their 4th down attempts. Okay, there's probably at least 1 I wouldn't have gone for. I'd have to go back and look. That being said, the Bills are a different story. It's all in their head. The Bills and Chiefs are what and what. Okay, they got the same amount of talent, in my opinion. What they don't have is Andy Reid. Okay, that's what they don't have.
I agree, 100% agree with that. So what they also don't have is Patrick Mahomes.
That too. But when Reid does retire, it's gonna be a different Chiefs team. Just telling you, Mahomes is God, but 100%. It's gonna be a different Chiefs team.
100%.
So real quickly, and look, I only want to. I want to get back to Saints close the show out, and I want to have a little shorter show than usual here today. But just your brief thoughts on the line. The line came out. It opened at 1.5. It was actually 1 at some places.
It was Caesars.
It's Caesars. It briefly went to 2, and it didn't stay there very long, and went right back to 1.5. That's where it was this morning at DraftKings. Your thoughts?
Well, I thought it was funny because Caesars was the only book to open at 1, and now they're the only book left at 2.
They're still at 2. There are 2.
Yeah, they're still at 2.
I may reach out to them this week. I got an email from their guys. We may have, like we used to do in Bayou Bets, maybe I'll have one of their guys on and talk line later in this week. We may do that. Maybe we'll have a Friday show, and maybe if Larry may or may not be on, I don't know, Friday, but maybe we'll have a line expert to talk about it. I think it's the right line. I think this is a pretty even game. I don't know, I think everybody thinks they know how I'm going to go, but you can think you know how I'm going to go. I got to be honest. I don't know how I'm going to go right now. I really don't. I know we say don't bet against God, and we've stuck to that, but there's a lot of things I saw from the Eagles in the past couple of weeks that lead me to believe that they can win this time. Look, they played 2 years ago and probably should have won, and they didn't have Saquon Barkley. Now, their offensive line probably was better the first time, but look, Barkley makes that much of a difference. I'm just saying that I'm definitely going to think about it. And I think the Eagles have that. I always think that winners, if you look close enough, and sometimes you look back and you miss the hindsight is 2020. Some teams have the look of destiny. Like every LSU baseball championship that I've seen, they had that look of destiny in their eye, like around April or May. And you could just kind of see it. And maybe not the last one.
The last one, they limped to Omaha.
Yeah, maybe you're right about the last one. But in the grand scheme, and I don't mean that. I'm just bringing that up because I've seen that. The Eagles kind of got that look. They kind of got that look. So I'm not saying that's the way I'm going to pick because I know we have stuck to our guns and stuck to our rules with our picks, and there's a reason why the standings are what they are for the most part. But I'm not ready to say it yet. But I think this line is pretty much spot on. I will be surprised because Ant and Mabel, what they've seen in the playoffs, this over-under is going to shoot up. I think it gets to like 52.
It already has.
Yeah, it started at 47.5, right?
The look ahead was 45.5.
Okay, well, I think it's going to get to 52. Which is absurd. I'm going to buy me some under when it gets to like 52. Just saying. I think it's going to get there.
Yeah, I think the line is incredibly fair. I mean, shit, when I came on 30 minutes ago, I told you that my first instinct was to bet on the Eagles. But I can already tell you right now,
Let's see if it's moved since we've been on the air.
I'm not going to do that.
It has not moved since we've been. It has not moved since we've been on.
That's not surprising. Yeah, I don't see much movement.
It moves a lot early, and then it stays this. Yeah, it doesn't move. It moves the first day or two. It moves, and then it stays the same for like 8 days, and then you start seeing some movement again. So
yeah, I mean,
hold on.
It's gonna jump to 4. Yeah, this line won't get anywhere near 4.
No chance.
It won't get above 2.5. I don't think.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull for the Chiefs. I haven't pulled for the Chiefs once. So I really don't know what you're talking about. The only reason why I was even kind of pulling for the Chiefs yesterday is because they had money on it. I really kind of wanted to see Buffalo. I was in the middle. I didn't really care who won. And I didn't have a whole ton of – I had more money, way more money on the first game than I had on the second game. So I had money kind of divested in the second game in some player props that ended up working out too, that I didn't need the Chiefs to win to hit. So you're wrong. All right, final thought real quick before we move on.
Don't bet against God.
Don't bet against God. That's a good one.
The Super Bowl 2 years ago is the reason I started saying that because I bet the Eagles in that Super Bowl.
I mean, I can't.
It wasn't pretty. The Eagles should have probably won that game. But Patrick Mahomes always finds a way.
I
agree with what Randall said. Randall said, here it is. He said, Andy Reid is making history and retiring. If there is any Super Bowl victory that will get Andy Reid to retire, it is a three-peat against the team that he loves the most other than the Kansas City Chiefs.
I hear you. I don't know.
This would be the perfect storybook ending to Andy Reid's incredible coaching career.
Well, John Elway got his Super Bowl. Everybody thought he was going to retire, and then he came back, and then he won another one. So, and then
I would not be surprised if the Chiefs win this game if both Travis Kelce and Andy Reid call it quits.
Yeah, maybe so. All right, we will talk to you on Wednesday with more good stuff, I'm sure.
Sounds good.
Gabe Henderson, everybody. Again, we'll have more to talk about Wednesday. He'll come on. I don't know. We're going to have a guest Wednesday. I just don't know who it's going to be yet. I have not even reached out to anyone But I do want to finish the show with Saints in just a minute. That's where we are getting to here. Rainy Cajun's with us. Says he was looking forward to a Bills Commanders matchup. Oh, look, I never. I don't think believed me when I said this yesterday. When the Commanders, I never really thought, even before the game, I told you it was my best bet of the week. I thought the Eagles were going to smoke them, and they did. But when the Commanders took the first half kickoff, and you want things that don't make sense. You drive down the field, you go for it on fourth down at least twice, I think 3 times, and then you get a 4th and 2 at, I don't know, like the 18 or whatever it was, and then they kick the field goal? That didn't make any sense to me. If you're going to have that mentality and play that style, why are you going to kick the field goal then? What did you do? Flip a coin to decide? Dan Quinn's awful. I mean, what was that? So, to me, when they kicked that field goal, I'm like, this game's over. I literally started going and make side bets because I had so much money on on Philadelphia at -6 that I literally I knew I was going to win. I'm like, I started going to make side bets on Chiefs props. I just thought it was a silly decision. So I'm on the anti get off my lawn people on that one. They should have gone for it on fourth down on that first drive. Again, if that's the way you play, you go back down the field and score. Why not do it? All right. We're going to move on to Saints, and we're going to finish the show with this and Saints coaching search. Lance asked me to bring back Dunk and talk coaching search. Look, I don't want to – we are definitely going to talk coaching search, but a couple things about that. First off, it might be over by Wednesday. There's a chance that we come on this show Wednesday and it's either already been done or it's starting to be reported. I think that things are going to leak. Whoever it's going to be, whether it's McCarthy or whether it's Kellen Moore or the 5% chance it's not either one of those guys. Yeah, I think we're in know this week for sure. But Dunk's got a lot of other things going on. I will have Jeff Duncan on during Super Bowl week where we're scheduled to be on Radio Row. I don't exactly know how it's going to work. I don't know if we're going to have a show every day or if we're just going to have the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not exactly sure. Here's exactly what I was talking about earlier. And I'm sorry, Ryan. I don't mean to be mean when I bring this up. You're an example of the social media clowns that have been saying this. This is so you are so wrong. And the clowns on social media who are saying this, that I'm about to show this comment, you're so wrong. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. I think Mickey Loomis will be forced to hire Rizzy. Mickey Loomis is not. Why would Mickey Loomis be forced to hire Rizzy? He's not. He won't be forced to hire Rizzy. Literally no one else wants the job. Bullshit. That's just straight up bullshit. Okay? There's no other way. There's no other word that fits that better than that. You are wrong. You think nobody wants this job. You think Kellen Moore doesn't want this job? You think Joe Brady didn't really want this job? You're out of your mind if you believe that. If you think Joe Brady didn't want this, if Mickey Loomis called Joe Brady right now and said, you know what, we've changed our minds. I know that your agent told you we were hiring Mike McCarthy or Kellen Moore or whoever the hell it's going to be. We've changed our minds. We want you, Joe Brady. Just like Liam Cohen, who said he wasn't interested in the Jags job, changed his mind. You know why Liam Cohen changed his mind? Because Liam Cohen was told that he wasn't getting the job, and then they fired the idiot GM, and then they came back and said, no, we want you. And he said, oh, okay, I'll take the job. It would be the exact same thing if they called Joe Brady to right now. Stewart says only 32 of them out there. I'll do it if no one else will. Right. That's the point. There's only 32 of them, especially if you've never had a chance to have this job. Ben Johnson last year was a rarity. Ben Johnson was 100% sure that he would have his pick of the litter in the next cycle, and he liked what was coming in the next cycle. No one knows what's coming in this next cycle. You can't tell me there's a job coming up that you know is going to be open that you want. I think it was a great gamble for Ben Johnson knowing the Bears job would be available because Matt Eberflus was awful. Here's another one that's bullshit. Aaron Glenn refused to work for Mickey Loomis. You weren't here earlier, so I'll say it again for those who weren't. It has nothing to do with Mickey Loomis. It has to do for Aaron Glenn. He played much of his career, a vast majority of his career, with the New York Jets. He had a chance to go coach the New York Jets. The Jets said, okay, we want you. He said, okay, I don't have to look anymore. It's a job I want. It's kind of like you going to a steakhouse and you're trying to decide what you want, and somebody comes up and you really want the 8-ounce filet. And somebody comes up, look at this beautiful 16-ounce porterhouse we got here. I don't know if we have the filet. I'm going to have to check in the back. And you're like, okay, porterhouse is all right. I guess I'll take the porterhouse. And they come back. They say, no, we got one filet left. And you say, give me the filet. I'm going to take that last filet. Same thing with Aaron Glenn. Got a chance to go coach the Jets because that's who he wanted to coach. It's not because of Mickey Loomis. He didn't make demands of the Saints. Get ready, Mickey Loomis, and I'll come there. Horse hockey. Where do people actually make this stuff up from? You know what happens? One moron on social media will say it. Usually a moron that has 100,000 followers or more. And then somebody picks up on it and it starts getting retweeted. And the next thing you know, other morons are tweeting it to morons all over the place. It's insane. It doesn't make sense. If something doesn't make sense, it's not true. That doesn't make sense. Common sense tells you that this is McCarthy's job, or now the Saints are flying to Philadelphia. So we hear. If that's true, then it's McCarthy or Kellen Moore. That's what common sense says. I'll eat paper on this show. I will mark this down. I will rip paper off, and I will eat it on this show if the next coach of the New Orleans Saints isn't Mike McCarthy or Kellen Moore. Period. Why did Sean leave? It ain't Mickey Loomis, numbskull. Sean Payton did whatever he wanted. He didn't answer to Mickey Loomis. You think Sean Payton answered to Mickey Loomis? What planet do you live on? What have you been watching for the last 15, 18 years? It ain't Saints football. Sean Payton didn't answer to Mickey Loomis. Mickey Loomis walked in his office and Sean says, by the way, Mickey, are you going anywhere near the coffee machine? You are? Okay, cool. I could use a cup. That's what Sean Payton did. Sean Payton says, oh, we got a call from so-and-so to trade up. We're trading up. Come on, people. Stop believing stuff you see on social media. If it doesn't make sense, it's not true. And none of that crap makes sense. Okay? People stir up stuff because they have nothing better to do and know that people can just say, they're like weathermen or weather persons, I should say. A lot of meteorologists are not men. In fact, maybe even half of them. Didn't mean to say it like that. The meteorologist society out there, they can be wrong 50% of the time, and you're still going to watch them tomorrow night. The same with these numbskulls that are on X, and some of them are sports anchors or have their own podcast. They can be wrong more than half the time, and you're still going to come back. You're going to come back here because I'm right. Like I usually am, right? And you'll come back and you'll say, Derry, you were right. Because I will be right. I'm not mentioning any names. There's names, and you can poke me and prod me for names all you want, but you can go on X and find them. Because you might find a name on X that I haven't seen, and I might not be talking about the same person. Just saying. Did Mickey Loomis make a mistake with Dennis Allen? Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20. I've said this 100 times before. 75 to 80% of Saints fans out there either wanted Dennis Allen or said, yeah, it's Dennis Allen's job. I get it. There were a handful of people that were upset about Dennis Allen getting the Saints job. A handful. But anyone There are very few people who don't have a job right now or who are a coordinator and they're up and coming who wouldn't take this job. Very, very, very few. Mike McCarthy ain't one. Kellen Moore ain't one. Joe Brady ain't one. If any of those guys got offered if nobody wants it, then why does Darren Rizzi want it? Why are y'all out there? Well, nobody wants this job. Why does Darren Rizzi want it then? You don't use common sense. Like my 13-year-old. Jason Benson, I'm okay with McCarthy, a seasoned coach for a seasoned team. Lots of veterans on this team. That's kind of why. Look, again, I'm not going to be upset if Kellen Moore gets the job because that's kind of who I was advocating for in the beginning. But I think Mike McCarthy makes the most sense. Sean asked, if Kellen Moore gets a job, can they announce it before the Super Bowl? Yes. It's happened multiple times before. They can announce it before the Super Bowl. They will announce it before the Super Bowl. Charles Mangus, if Mike McCarthy is available now, why didn't we get him right away? You were watching from the beginning, so you obviously just weren't paying attention. Go back to last week. Who were the Saints supposed to interview on Tuesday and then on Wednesday? That would be Anthony Weaver and then Mike Kafka, both of whom satisfy the requirements for the Rooney Rule. What happened in New Orleans? Oh, we had a historic snowstorm where everything shut down for 2 days. Therefore, Weaver got pushed back to Thursday. Kafka got pushed back to Friday. You can't do anything until you have fulfilled your requirements for the Rooney Rule. So until they did that, you can't announce a coach unless it's one of those. Now, if you wanted to hire Anthony Weaver, you could have brought Anthony Weaver in here on Thursday, interviewed him a second time and said, you know what? We don't want to talk to anyone else. Anthony Weaver's our guy. We're hiring him. So there you go. Oh, my God. Rainey Caden says, I'd be an awesome teacher at Shaw. Obviously, you weren't paying attention. I say that to my kids all the time. I'm sorry. Anyway. Y'all have some frustrating mofos sometimes. Common sense. It's a theme. You're going to hear me say this. Gabe got me to stop saying he's an awful coach, although I did say it a couple times today. It's not going to get me to stop saying use common sense. Common sense. Say it with me, people. Nobody wants the job. Do you think if the Saints fly up to Philadelphia right now or today or whenever, they talk to Kellen Moore for 4 hours and they say, you know what? We don't need to talk to anybody else. You're our guy. We're going to give you a job. Bam. There's the contract. You think he's going to say no? If you do, I don't know what to tell you, what to do with your life. Because you just don't use common sense if you think that's the case. Because it makes no sense. A guy that's been a coordinator at 3 different places gets offered a head coaching job in the NFL. It could be with the expansion Moscow Marauders. You could put a team in Siberia. And if Kellen Moore got offered the job, he's gone. Mad Drummer says, who do I think will be the next DC and OC? Well, if it's McCarthy or Kellen Moore, it doesn't really matter who the OC is because they'll basically be the OC and get somebody like Clipboard Pete to come in and have the job in name only. DC, I don't know. It's a good question. Jason Benson says, you have to understand that, quote, common sense isn't nearly as common as it used to be. Oh, Lord, don't I know it. Whew. Don't I know it. You know how Red, I should have been a farmer. My mama always wanted to be the farmer. Sometimes I wake up and say, I should have stayed covering high schools. I had a lot more fun covering. Some days I say that. I'm the new Mr. Lazar, Brian Lazar. They don't know Brian Lazar. Hector Garcia, the issue, in my opinion, You can get any coach that you want, but if the front office doesn't do its job and you don't draft well, it doesn't matter. Front office have to go hand in hand. Can't disagree with you there. I mean, we're talking about who the next coach is, but if they don't go out and make the right decisions in this draft, it's not going to matter in the near term. If they don't start working towards cutting this salary cap issue down and getting rid of the salary cap problem, it's not going to make a whole lot of agree wholeheartedly, Hector. You don't change the main problems that you got, none of this matters. UBN wants to know why y'all want AG anyway. Have you seen his defense? They were giving up like 40 a game. Now, in his defense, and again, I don't want to contradict myself. I don't use excuses a whole lot, but he did have Gabe said, I think it was 5 defensive starters or injured, include 6, including if you include Hutchinson, who was gone from the beginning of the season. And I mean, you lose Hutchinson, that's a big deal by itself. One Smoke asked if Mickey were to step down, which he's not. Any chance Peyton Manning can be the GM? That would be a big no. I don't think Peyton Manning wants anything to do with the Saints, just saying. There's a much better chance that Drew Brees would come and work for this team than Peyton Manning. All right. Y'all riled me up enough. We'll have more fun on Wednesday. Again, I don't know who the guest is going to be. I haven't even asked anyone yet. Last week I had the guest. I had Duncan lined up a week ahead of time, and before that I had who did we have Monday before that? Wednesday before that we had Mike Detillier. I had that lined up like a week at a time. I didn't get anybody this week. We'll see. We'll have fun, whoever it is. Maybe we'll have more definitive answers on common sense in a coach coming up on Wednesday. I mean, I wouldn't count on it, but I mean, we got to have one more show like this where you numbnuts are out there going, Levis is an idiot. We don't have a coach yet. Oh, my God. Chicken Little. The sky's falling. The world's going to end. Oh, my God. Joe Blow on X said such and such. World's not coming to an end. Common sense says that one of the 2 favorites is going to get the job. Common sense says it's probably going to be this week. Just hold on to your britches a little bit. That is going to wrap it up for us on this Monday. I want to thank today's guests, Gabe, and you. You were our guests. Some of you were guests. Some of you were stirring pots. You don't think I really believe. Some of y'all don't even really believe half the stuff y'all type in. We hope you can join us next on Wednesday. We told you that already. Reminder to subscribe to our Dattitude YouTube page if you haven't done so already. We have fun like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, live at 11 a.m. Central. Sometimes we do it on other days too. It just kind of depends. But Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central. You can click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And find a replay of the show, as always, on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me on bet.NOLA.com. You can find our Saints insider guys who have the latest on all the Saints updates, NOLA.com/Saints. We will see you Wednesday. It is warmed up. It is a reason to be happy. Maybe we'll have a coach Wednesday. Maybe we won't, but we will talk about it, and we will see you then. Take it easy, my friends.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.